Have you ever felt there's a part of you that even you don't want to face? That voice in your head that whispers things you'd never say out loud? That shadow that follows you, even when the lights are on? We all wear masks. One for the world, and one for ourselves. But there's another mask. The one we wear in front of the mirror. The mask we use to hide from our own truth. Maybe it's that memory you've locked away. Maybe it's that anger you keep telling yourself you've moved on from. Or maybe it's the quiet loneliness you never let anyone see. The truth is, there's a dark side of your mind you keep ignoring. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. And here's the dangerous part. What you ignore doesn't disappear. It grows. It waits. And one day, it finds a way to take control. In the next few minutes, I'm going to take you somewhere you've avoided for years. We'll walk into the shadows of your own thoughts, and I'll show you what's been hiding there. You might be uncomfortable. You might even want to stop listening. But if you stay with me until the end, you may just find that the very thing you fear the most could be the key to setting you free. When did it start for you? No, not today, not last year. I'm talking about the very first time you felt something and decided you couldn't show it. Maybe you were a child, sitting in a classroom when someone laughed at the way you spoke. So you stopped speaking up. Or maybe you were at home crying about something that mattered to you and someone told you to stop being dramatic. So you learned to cry in silence. You see, the dark side of your mind doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's born in tiny moments like these, little cuts to your spirit that you think you've forgotten, but your mind never does. From that day on, you start building walls. You put away your anger because it scares people. You hide your sadness because it makes you weak. You bury your dreams because someone told you they were unrealistic. And little by little, the you that the world sees becomes different from the you that lives inside. Inside, that hidden you starts collecting all the emotions you refuse to deal with. The frustration, the shame, the fear, the jealousy, the guilt. You don't talk to it, you don't look at it, but it's there, growing quietly in the dark. Here's the strange thing. We do this because we think it's protecting us. We think, if I hide this part of me, no one will ever hurt me for it. But in reality, that's the very thing that begins to hurt us the most. You might be listening to me right now thinking, yes, I've been through things like that. And maybe you've even convinced yourself you've moved on. But I want to ask you something. When was the last time you thought about that moment? That one incident you tell yourself doesn't matter anymore, but your chest still tightens when you remember it. That's the seed of your shadow. And here's the truth. It's been with you far longer than you realize. It shows up in ways you don't expect. You overreact to small things, and because deep down, they remind you of a bigger hurt you've buried. You distance yourself from people. Not because you don't care, but because somewhere, someone once made closeness feel unsafe. This is how the shadow begins. Not as a monster, but as a child version of you, holding all the feelings you weren't allowed to have. And the more you ignore it, the louder it learns to scream from the dark. I'm fine. That's the lie you tell yourself most often, isn't it? It rolls off your tongue so easily now, like a reflex. Someone asks how you're doing, and without even thinking, you say, I'm fine. But deep inside, you know that fine is just another word for, I don't want to talk about it. You see, we lie to ourselves in small, almost invisible ways. We tell ourselves we're over it, that it didn't really hurt that much, that what happened wasn't a big deal. We rewrite the past to make it feel less painful, and in doing so, we convince ourselves the wound has healed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Time just teaches us how to hide them better. And when you keep telling yourself those little lies, you start living in a version of reality that isn't fully yours. You pretend to be confident, but every compliment makes you uneasy because deep down you don't believe it. You pretend to be strong, but you avoid certain conversations because they might crack the armor you've built. You smile in photographs, but you can't remember the last time you felt that smile in your heart. And so you become two people, the one the world sees and the one who watches quietly from inside. Sometimes that hidden you tries to speak up. It whispers in the quiet moments, this isn't who we are. But you shut it down. Because acknowledging it means admitting something is wrong. And admitting something is wrong means you might have to feel the pain you've been avoiding for years, so you distract yourself. You keep busy. You tell yourself you just need to work harder. Achieve more, find the right relationship, make more money, anything to fill the space inside where the truth is waiting. But here's the dangerous part. The more you run from it, the more control it has over you. It shapes your choices. It guides your fears. It makes you walk away from opportunities that could change your life, and because it whispers, "You're not ready," or worse, "You're not enough," and you believe it. Because you think it's you talking, but it's not. It's the shadow, the part of you you've been ignoring, pretending to be your voice. That's why so many people feel stuck without knowing why. They think they're making choices freely, but in reality, they're just avoiding the places where the truth lives. And until you see that, until you catch yourself in the middle of one of those lies and say, "Wait, this isn't real," the shadow will keep steering your life in ways you don't even notice, and you'll keep telling yourself, "I'm fine." Let me tell you something unsettling. You don't have to see the shadow for it to control you. In fact, the most dangerous part about the shadow is this: it works in silence. Think of it like a quiet voice in the back of your mind. Not loud enough to alarm you, but constant enough to steer your choices. It doesn't scream, "Don't do it." It whispers, "Maybe later." It doesn't say, "You're worthless." It says, "This isn't the right time." It hides its claws behind logic, so you never think to fight it. And here's the scary part. Sometimes it pretends to protect you. It tells you not to try because you might fail. It tells you not to speak up because people might judge you. It tells you to stay comfortable because the unknown is dangerous. But the truth? It's not protecting you, it's protecting itself. Because if you take risks, if you face fears, if you chase dreams, you might expose the lies it's been feeding you, and the shadow can't survive in the light. You've felt this before, haven't you? That invisible pull to stay in your lane, not make too much noise, keep your head down. You tell yourself you're just being realistic, but deep down you know it's something else. You know there's a part of you holding the steering wheel, and it's not the version of you want to be driving. Here's how you can tell the shadow is in control. You walk away from opportunities that scare you. You replay conversations in your head, wishing you'd said something different. You avoid certain dreams because you've convinced yourself they're impossible. You keep yourself busy with small things, so you don't have to face the big ones. And while you're doing all this, life is passing, the years are moving, and every "I'll do it tomorrow" becomes a memory of something you never did. The most haunting thing about the shadow is that you only see its work when it's too late. You wake up one day and realize the dreams you once had, gone, the courage you once felt, faded, the life you thought you'd live, slipped away. One small hesitation at a time. The shadow doesn't need to destroy you in one big blow. It just needs you to hesitate. Again and again and again until hesitation becomes your nature. And when that happens, you don't even need the shadow anymore because you've become it. There comes a day, maybe it's small and ordinary, maybe it's raining, maybe you're just sipping tea, scrolling your phone, but out of nowhere, you feel it. This heaviness, this strange ache in your chest. And for the first time, you notice the gap, the space between the life you're living and the life you once imagined. It's like looking at your reflection and realizing you don't recognize the person staring back. It's like looking at your reflection and realizing you don't recognize the person staring back. For years, you've been moving, working, meeting deadlines, keeping up appearances. But in that moment, it hits you. You've been living on autopilot. Not because you were lazy, not because you didn't care, but because something inside you, your shadow, has been quietly steering you away from the uncomfortable, the risky, the unknown, and into the safe, predictable, empty. It's almost like waking from a dream. You see all the small compromises, all the times you said later, all the ways you chose comfort over courage, stacking up into the life you have now. And here's the part that stings. You realize nobody else did this to you. Not your parents, Not your boss, not society. It was you, the version of you that listened to fear more than desire. It's a hard truth to swallow, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing it everywhere. In the job you settled for, in the friendships you outgrew but never left, in the dreams you quietly buried because they were unrealistic. And you feel this tension inside, part grief, part rage, part determination. Grief for the years lost, rage at the voice that kept you small, and determination, because you know you cannot let this be the rest of your life. This is the moment, the crack in the wall, the first time the shadow's power begins to fade, not because it's gone, but because now you see it, and once you see it, the game changes. You know what the most dangerous thing about the shadow is? It's not that it hides in the dark, it's that, after a while, you start to think it is you. But here's the truth. It's not. It's just a part of you. A scared, protective, wounded part that doesn't know how to trust the light, and now that you see it, really see it, you have a choice. The old you would turn away. Pretend it's not there, promise yourself you'll deal with it later. But you're not that person anymore, because now you know that later never comes. So you do something terrifying. You look straight at it, and you say, "I'm not running anymore." The shadow won't like it. It will whisper all the old lies. You're not ready, you'll fail, you're not enough. But this time, you recognize the voice, and you answer, "Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I will fail, but I'm still going." That's how the cycle breaks. Not with one big dramatic moment, but with a small defiant step into the unknown. You tell the truth you've been hiding. You start the project you've been planning for years. You have the conversation you've been avoiding, and with each act of courage, the shadow shrinks. You begin to realize it was never about erasing the dark parts of yourself. It was about bringing them into the light, so they can't control you anymore. And something magical happens. The fear is still there, but it's softer. The doubt is still there, but it no longer decides for you. And for the first time in a long, long time, you feel alive. So here's the question I want you to sit with tonight. What is one thing you've been ignoring? One truth you've been burying? One step you know you need to take? Because if you start there, just there, you might discover that the dark side of your mind was never an enemy. It was a compass, pointing you toward the part of yourself you were always meant to meet. And maybe, or just maybe, that's where your real life begins.